Hello, educators, parents, and friends. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Dr. Blissful, and I'm here to give you tips and tricks on elementary education. I'm also the author of the book, Breaking Free of Bullying, where I provide strategies for your kiddos to stay safe, happy, and emotionally healthy. If you're a returning guest, Shaka and how's it? Today I am feeling blissfully abundant. Just coming off Christmas, I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday, whatever it is that you celebrate. I do both Hanukkah and Christmas, and I had a wonderful time with family, but it is winter break, and so I am here to give you some tips that you can keep your kids busy, yet not lose the information that they gained from school. So, in our last two videos, we talked about sight words, and the sight words are a great way to start those foundational skills, but also expand on what it is your kiddos need to get to the next level. Now, again, ideally, I work with transitional kindergarten through fifth, but it's primarily with kids that are struggling or are learning to read. Before we bounce into that, let's talk about what we were talking about in my last session, which was my very second one. This is only my third channel session. We were talking about when do kids stop running? And because it's a new channel, I didn't get a lot of feedback, but we were talking about at what point do children stop living in the moment? Because they run to recess, they run to lunch, they run to grab the balls or whatever. And as educators, we're constantly telling them to stop, slow down, stop, go back and walk, etc. So do we brainwash them into submission? Yes, we all want them to be law-abiding citizens and follow rules, but at what cost? Where's that fine line? Where's that boundary from allowing them to be children free and carefree and really following those guidelines? I'm not sure. I think there needs to be a really good balance. So if you have comments about that, please put them in the chat or whatever it's called here on YouTube. Again, I'm new to this. I'm used to Zoom and Google Meets. So we say put it in the chat box. So whatever it is down there that you put your comments in, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Okay, we're going to continue with our sight word lesson. And the reason I'm starting with sight words is because we're on break. And so this is the easiest way to keep your kids engaged, even if you're on the go in an airplane, at the airport, train station, in the car, whatever. It's a great way to keep your kids engaged while you are trying to get where you're going or coming back. It's also a good way to have your caregiver provide help for your kids that are especially struggling reading, or if you just want them to keep up. So in the last two sessions, we talked about sight words. I'm going to go ahead and put the links and the state standards for kindergarten, first grade, second and third, and transitional kindergarten, okay? So that you know exactly what it is that they should be doing. I think if I can pull it up here, I can read what those are. So in ELA, English Language Arts Transitional Kindergarten, the standard is to add drawings or other visual displays to descriptions. And we're going to talk about that today. In kindergarten, we want them to capitalize the first word in a sentence and the pronoun I. First grade, that was kinder. And you also want them to recognize and name the end punctuation. So they need to be able to say period, question mark, exclamation point. First grade, use end punctuation for sentences. They should be able to tell you, put a period at the end of the sentence, as well as produce and expand complete, simple, and compound declarative. that's periods. Interrogative, that's question marks. Imperative, that's something with a command. And then exclamatory is your exclamations. Second grade is to form and use frequently occurring irregular plural nouns. For example, feet, children, teeth, mice, as opposed to foot, child, tooth, mices, fishes. And then third grade is to form and use the simple verb tenses. So I walked, I walk, I will walk, so on and so forth. Okay. So while we have those standards in place, you will also have them down in the comments. Trying to find where it is. So in the beginning, we were talking about sight words, and I also have the link to the fry words down below. Fry words are the most commonly used words in publication. It has nothing to do with the difficulty of it. So again, as we start with sight words, you're going to have your list of sight words. You're going to wrap them in a rubber band. Ideally, you want them in some kind of hooked, like chain device, so you can flip them easily. But whatever works for you. Recall that we talked about if you have a sight word, you don't want to pull the sight word out until it's completely marked. So each time they get it, they get to stamp, and once they've made a circle around that sight word, you know that it's internalized. The second part was to ask your child to give a sentence with the word. And in this instance, we said, Mommy and me made cookies. I put the period at the end. So if you have a 4-year-old, you would probably put that. In kindergarten, you would say, do you know what that's called? And they should be able to say it's a period. If it's first grade, you want them to give you the sentence, and then you say, what goes at the end of the sentence? And they should be able to say period. If you're in second grade, you might want to elaborate and say, what kind of cookies did you make? What did they smell like? Did they taste good? So they're going to elaborate to make more compounded sentences. And third grade as well probably will use more adjectives. So you can ask them more information. Maybe third grade would have 2 sentences. This is for children that are struggling, okay? But it also can be a fun activity if you have a third grader and a kindergartner to help each other. That really helps as well, because the third grader thinks that they're helping the kindergartner and they're in control, but they're also reinforcing all of those standards that they need to reach in order to go to the next level. The next thing we talked about is if you have a sight word such as have, and we're talking about EL students or kids that have a second language that are trying to learn English. You want to always, when you are writing the sentence, you want to make sure that you're using their own natural language. Now, again, for the purposes of this lesson, that is what we're doing. So the sight word is have. They can also trace it with their finger or a pencil. Give me a sentence. With have, the child says, I had it to go to the store. And that's what you're going to write, because that's where that child's at. We will fix the grammar later. Right now, if your child is struggling with reading, you really want to build that self-esteem and that self-confidence. That's not going to happen if you go, it's not had it. You have to say have. And if you pound it into them, they're just really going to get discouraged, because trust me, they're not purposefully wanting to get it wrong. They're frustrated inside, and they're in turmoil inside, feeling frustrated that they're not able to read like Joe or Becky or Juan or whoever it is in their class, their cousin, their sibling, their friend. So you always want to just honor what they have to say. So you'll notice that in this sentence, they did not say have. They said had it. So you just want to say, okay, great. Now, the word is what? Have. So you said I had it to go to the store. So can you think of a sentence to use that has the word have? So down at the bottom, we have I have food. If they get stuck or if they feel like they're, closing up, they're melting down because they're like, here I go again. I'm a Dumbo. They're internalizing that negative self-talk. Well, let me give you an example. I have a t-shirt. I have earphones. I have some reading glasses. What do you have? It is a slow process, and if you are a parent that doesn't have the patience for that kind of dialogue, or you feel like, oh, well, they should know it, probably not the lesson for you. You might want to give it to a partner, a friend, maybe an older sibling that wants to help out, a caregiver, somebody that is going to be a little bit more patient because you definitely don't want them to shut down. Okay. So now we have our sentences. Now, the next thing we talked about is keeping a journal, so to speak. I just use regular paper, and you can just get a binder, start filling it in. And you're going to write that sentence that they wrote on a piece of paper. Now, another thing that's really, really important that whoever's doing the printing really needs to have good penmanship. If you're going to scrabble like this, it's kind of defeating the purpose. So find someone that really does have nice penmanship. We're going to put it in their journal, just notebook paper, got it at the Dollar Tree. Mommy and me made cookies. What goes at the end of the sentence? Here. Excellent. So the next thing that they're going to do, you can do it one of two ways. They're going to trace over your writing, which is why I said the penmanship is very important. So ideally, I like to put this in a marker because it's thicker and fat, but I didn't have one, of course. So I'm going to have to go out and purchase that. Then they have their pen or their pencil. If they're 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, try to find a fat marker. Like for 4, 5, and even sometimes 6-year-olds, a pen or a skinny pencil isn't the best tool that you want them to use because it's really skinny and it's really hard for them to manipulate. And we really want to build on those fine motor skills. That's what it's called, fine motor skills. So you kind of want a marker that's fatter because they can grasp it better. And ideally, you want to make sure that they're holding it properly. Now, excuse me, if you have a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, it's probably too late. They're probably already like holding it however they're holding it. But ideally, you want them to grasp by bending this pointer finger and with the thumb and pressing it against the middle finger. Ideally, that's the best way to manipulate the pencil or pen or marker. And then what they're going to do is they're just going to trace. And this isn't a very good marker because it's stamped, but they're going to trace your printing. Now, you want to make sure that they are printing properly, especially if you've got some young ones. Catch them early. You always want to start from the top going down. So we don't want this kind of thing. It should be down, 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 down. And what I like to do is, as teachers, we'll put a little cloud at the top and we'll put a little flower at the bottom. And you always say we're going to start at the sky and go down to the ground. Start at the sky, go down to the ground, so on and so forth. The same with our lowercase letters. We're going to start in the middle and go around, so on and so forth. The M, so on and so forth. They're going to trace what they say and they're going to read it back to you. Or they can draw a picture first, whatever they like to do. Some kids like to draw a picture and this will keep them busy. So this is Mommy and Me made cookies. Okay, and they drew little pictures. Okay, they can color it and say, okay, go ahead and trace Mommy and Me made cookies. So whatever works for your kiddo, always give them options. You know, especially if it's light and it's at home, always give them options. Okay, so do you want to color first or do you want to draw first? Do you want to read first or do you want to first? What would you like to do? So that kind of gives them some control over their learning and take ownership over their learning. So after what we're going to do, I like to use the whole page. So I would probably use the next sentence. I had it to go to the store. I have food. I would probably write that down here. Have them draw the picture so that they have their own journal, and then it becomes a book and they start reading their book that they made for themselves. Once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is, once their story is complete, if they're older, you might want to say, what else did you do? What kind of cookies did you make? We made chocolate chip cookies. Anything else? And always say, okay. And I always say, anything else? And sometimes the kids, and then, that's a big one in elementary. And then, everything's, and then, and I like my friend. I like my mom. I like my dad. I like my dog. In the beginning, that's okay. We will build to the next level after they build their confidence. The last step for this little section here is, now we're going to have some more sight words. So we already have our fry words, which the teacher should be able to, your classroom teacher should be able to give you. But I did put a link down in the comments where you can at least see the first couple of fry words. Hold on, I lost my pen. The last couple of fry words so that you can have that. So you're going to eventually take these story that your kiddo wrote and you're going to make more sight word cards. So we have mommy. And we're going to put mommy with a capital M because we want it to be exactly like the story that they dictated to you. So mommy and me made cookies. Now, again, this is for, and you want to put the period at the end of the cookies. Now, again, this is for pre-K through grade 3, unless they're really struggling in 4th and 5th because they've come over from a new country and they're just learning the language. If they're older, you probably won't have to do this level. So if we have, like, say, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and they're kind of getting it, we'll do a different activity for them. But when we move from the dictation to the flashcard, that is more for kids that really just aren't reading fluently yet, and we want to build their self-esteem. Ideally, that's what this lesson is for. Okay. So now we have Mommy and me made cookies. So now we're going to read it with our flashcards. Mommy and me made cookies. Now, if they get stuck, and you'll probably be like, how do they not know? We just read it. It depends on the kid. It really just does. Let's say we're going through our sight words and we get to made and they forgot what it says. All you have to do is say, okay, go ahead and read your story. What does your story say? Point to the words as you read. Mommy and me made. What's the word? Made. Do they look the same? Yes. Cookies, what goes at the end? What's this at the end? Period. Excellent. Then you do it a couple more times. Okay, now we're going to play a game. Now we're going to mix them up. Okay, so I'm going to mix up all these cards. And I usually call their dictation story a cheat sheet. Okay, so now we're going to read them all mixed up. But it's okay. And if you forget, just use your cheat sheet, use your dictation to help you. So, made, mommy, cookies, and they get stuck. Okay, look at your cheat sheet. Read the story. Mommy and me. Oh, me. Very good. Then the last thing you want to do is you want them to take their sight words and say, okay, now I want you to put them in order. So they can put it on the table, on the carpet, wherever they want. They're going to put them in order. Ideally, you want them to put it in the same order as it's written here. Sometimes they'll put it all the way across, and that's fine too, as long as they have it in order. And they're just going to place their cards accordingly. So they're going to make a strip of cards, and they're going to read the story, Mommy and me made cookies. What goes at the end of the sentence? Period. You're going to say that 1,000,000 times, okay? Even when you're reading anything. What goes at the end of it? You're just going to be sick of it. But, that's the only way that they can ingrain and internalize it. So once you've done that, you can play games. Okay, show me mommy. Show me aunt. Show me the word me. Show me cookies. Mix them up and play it again. And then it becomes a game. So once you've done that, I dropped my card. Let me grab them one more time. Once you have done that, these become their new flashcards. So they have their sight word, and because that's going to be underlined. So you're going to have two stacks. You're going to have your sight word stack, and then you're going to have your dictation stack. And eventually it's going to be the same thing. Every time that they get their word right, they get to put a stamp. They're going to want to read it to everyone. Can I read it to you so I can get a stamp? Make sure you carry your stamps with you. Again, I got these at Dollar Tree. You're going to make sure that you stamp all the way around. Eventually you can take that out and then add to your collection. That's how you're going to build that vocabulary and that language and that word reading for your kiddos. Now, keep in mind, that's not going to replace phonics. That's not going to replace phonemic awareness. We're just doing sight word activity that you can do as a parent to support your teachers and to support your kiddos at home. Anybody can do it. So we will talk about phonics and phonemic awareness in another session. So I just want to make sure that that's really clear. This is not a substitute for phonemic awareness or phonics. Every child needs both. They definitely need to be able to manipulate the sounds. They need to know how the sounds connect to make words. So again, this is not whole language that I'm preaching. This lesson may be whole language, but it's not taking the place of phonemic awareness. So I just want to make sure that you really understand that. They need a balance of both. So as we go through these sessions, we're going to talk more about foundational skills. Let me know what it is that your kid is struggling with so I can create a lesson and present it. We'll talk about phonemic awareness. We're going to talk about phonics and the difference, what that means. We'll get into comprehension. We'll get into grammar. We'll get into writing, whatever it is that you're needing. Please reach out in the comments and let me know. If you're a new educator, let me know what you're struggling with. I have tons of ideas, and just shoot me a comment and say, like, I really just don't know what to do with this kid. So hopefully we'll build a rapport here, and not only will you have teachers, paid teachers, and all these other free resources for paper, that's all great and fine, but you actually need to know how to do the lesson, right? So anyways, that's my lesson for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. And that's it for now. Shaka, and stay blissfully abundant out there. Okay, bye.